Good afternoon everyone and welcome back to Iceland. Today is the long haul cross-country flight that I have been building up to. I've mentioned it, I don't know, about 1,000 times. I have been mentally preparing for it as well as getting some things ready for the flight. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So first of all, let's have a quick look at the leg itself. We are flying from BINF Nordfjordur to BIRF Rif. This, as I said, is the cross-country flight. You can see that here, where you can see it's basically from the eastern tip to the western tip. I think it's about 2.5 hours flying time. Now, as well as this, I have installed, let's go through them in order, Max FX, Reshade in 11.5, Sky Max Pro, and Real Weather Connector. So we now have some much better looking clouds. They are very, very cool looking. If we just descend through them, oops, do it a bit quicker than that, you can see that they've got a real volume to them now as well. So at the moment SkyMax isn't running. It's going to be a case of testing and tweaking. What I have at the moment is nothing turned on. However, I've got a setting that I'm thinking I should use for the time lapse because it looks quite nice. So the next thing we need to do is do a quick maintenance check. In the last episode, despite the microphone issue, what I did do was I installed the tuned version of the injector and the exhaust. It cost us in total $2,500, but it's going to help. So temperatures, we're looking good at the moment. Everything is okay. Alright, so let's get ourselves started. Get the engine starting. That's probably the best thing to do. Just turn that off. Nav lights on. Okay, so mixture 50%, throttle in about 1.5 inches. There we go. Parking brake was on this time, which is pretty magic for me really. I don't tend to have the parking brake on. Just gonna pull the mixture back a little. There we go. Just need to get that oil temperature rising. So while we do that, let's get the altimeter on, put the beacons on as well, and the buses. This flight plan has already been loaded. I have done this previously because what I needed to do was actually check this departure here to make sure we could climb and do it. We can, which is good, because going out to the sea is it's really long-winded, I think. Now, weather. At BINF, we have wind 116 at 13, visibility greater than 10 miles, clouds scattered at 3,100 feet, broken at 5,600, temperature 8, dew point 4, no reported precipitation, and an altimeter of 1012 millibars. So let's get 1012 into here. It's 10. That's 1012, yeah. Let's get the directional gyro. No, let's put that back on. That was the wrong button. So the directional gyro is aligned. Interesting. It doesn't usually happen like that. At least not for me. So we're just going to wait for the temperature to build up. While we do that, just have a quick look at the wings. I did, of course, check this all before. So we'll just check that everything appears to be working. Oops. So we have aileron control, yep, good. If we go to one of our outside views, okay, and for yaw, yep, good. So that temperature is very slow, to be honest. So I think we're just going to have to wait for it at the moment. So once we're ready to taxi, what we're going to do is we will just taxi straight onto here, and we can actually take off from this runway entrance point. It's not a big deal. I have already done it. Oh look, ice cold beer. Ice cold beer. And yeah, we can make it over these mountains. So that's a good thing. It's always good to be able to make it over the mountains, really. So yes, I will let this guy continue warming up. I'll see you in a moment. Okay, so the oil is now in the correct place. What we also need to do is tune this guy here to 330. 330 is the ADF located at BIRF Airport. So that's going to be useful for us. Right, now I'm going to put this onto a full mixture just while we taxi to the airport. So we don't need taxi lights on, it's broad daylight. As I said, I have already tried this a few times, so I know that actually we need a fair bit of throttle to taxi across this surface. It's not a particularly nice surface. We're going to want to put the flaps to 10 degrees as well, just to help us get off the runway a little bit quicker. The quicker we get off the runway, of course, the quicker we can start climbing correctly. And we want as much time as possible to climb so we can make it over those mountains successfully. So we're going to be cruising today at 6,500 feet. We may drop down at some point, but that 6,500 feet is the correct altitude for us to clear every obstacle on the way, which is why I have chosen it. Also, it's going to help us with fuel efficiency, of course. Okay. Pull that back. Let's put the brakes on and the parking brake on. So, strobe lights, landing lights. We do not need any heating. We are good for the altimeter, good for the directional gyro. Temperatures, temperatures and pressures, all good. Altimeter is on. Fuel, we have enough for this flight. So everything is ready to go, which means, sorry, I was just messing around there. Everything is ready to go, so I think we should go. So, parking brake off, full throttle. Little bit of rudder just to keep us in a straight line. We'll get to that magic 55 knot mark. Well, in fact, as we have flaps 1, we should be able to get to 50 knot mark. So airspeed alive. Try and stay on track. Come on. Let's rotate. And that was not a good takeoff. Not at all. And this is not a particularly comfortable climb either. Right. Let's get those flaps up. And now we can begin to trim. If I can hold this guy correctly. There we go. So I no longer have control of vertical deviation. There we go. now, let's get onto heading mode. Vertical speed, we will climb at 1,000 feet a minute for now. There we go. Now, these black bits here are not shadows from the clouds, they are actually shadows, unfortunately, in the ortho tiles. Very disappointing. I will be fixing those. Like I said previously, there's a lot of things to fix in the ortho tiles, but I will do them. I will get them fixed. So, we're going to climb, as I said. At the moment we're coming up to 2,000 feet, so we'll just rotate a couple of degrees, and we're going to drop this down. Actually, I think we'll stick with 1,000 for now. We're okay with 1,000. It was pointed out to me that I should probably have a little mention about what leaning is. So I'll do it while we're on our climb. I think it's probably a good time to talk about it. Now, you'll have to excuse me because I am very familiar with how engines work in terms of the science. The actual physical mechanics I'm not so good at. I'm one of these stupid people who knows how it works but couldn't put one together if I had to save my life. Basically, the air and the fuel are mixed. When they're mixed, there is a spark applied. That spark expands the air-fuel mixture, which was previously compressed, I should have said. And when it expands, it pushes the pistons, and that drives the engine. Now, this is where leaning comes in. When you have a fully rich mixture, like I have at the moment, what happens is you are applying more fuel than you need to. So, I'm just going to go to outside view so we can watch how close we are. In fact, I think I have a view for this, don't I? I do. Pull it back out a bit. Yes, so with a fully rich mixture, you put in more fuel than you have air available, which means that you end up with some fuel left in the cylinder afterwards. The same is true if you have a fully lean mixture. You end up with more air than you do fuel, and you end up with oxygen left over. That's not a bad thing. That's not a good thing, really, to have too much left. In both of these cases, what happens is the exhaust temperature stays low because you are essentially cooling the aircraft. Switch that on to GPS, and then I'll continue with my discussion. Just want to join onto that nav route. Okay. I just want to look at my route, at my views for a moment. Okay, that one's not bad. We'll stick with that for now. Oh, no we won't. No we won't. Oh my God, I'm being so indecisive. I do apologise. So I'm trying to decide which way we should be viewing this. So, everything's cold when you don't have a perfect mixture. I'm going to try and remember the words now, and I've got a feeling this might actually be turbine engines rather than piston engines, but stoichiometric mixture, I think is the correct term. So as you can see, we are full throttle, full mixture, and the engine gas temperature is pretty low. If we lean the engine, what we do is we reduce the amount of fuel that goes in, and when you do that, you get to a certain point where the amount of fuel and the amount of oxygen are almost perfect, and because you no longer have any oxygen left, or any fuel left, you are no longer cooling the engine, which is why you look for the exhaust gas temperature as well as the engine stability. So today, this is not what I've red. This is not the normal way of doing it, but today what we're going to do is we're going to climb to cruise altitude and then lean. Having read up on this previously, it looks like usually you would actually do it the other way around. You would, well, sorry, not the other way around. You would do the leaning earlier. You lean around about 2,000 to 3,000 feet. You start your leaning and continue climbing. But I wanted to try and climb as quickly as possible because we've got, you know, a fair bit of terrain around here that we have to avoid, as can be seen quite easily from my wing views. So yeah, it was quite important to me that we got out of here quickly, and we can worry about fuel flow later. We have plenty of fuel in the tanks, so it's not really a big deal. We've got about 1,000 miles to go. 1,000 miles, 1,000 feet. I will learn to talk in a moment, I promise. Yes, we've got about 1,000 feet to go, and then we will put the autopilot into nav mode and into alt mode, probably about the same time, I think. We're currently 1 nautical mile off track, so no, we'll probably do nav mode first, actually. And yeah, then we'll start the leaning process. But this is currently saying 2 hours 20. That's with our current ground speed. Of course, our ground speed is going to decrease once I start leaning the engine, but our fuel flow will also decrease massively. And if I can hit the right point, then we won't have to worry too much, because we will be we'll hit the kind of sweet spot between fuel flow, gas temperature, exhaust gas temperature, and ground speed. Now I'm just looking, at the moment we have a tailwind of 9 knots, which is why we're shaking a little bit, I think. I wouldn't expect to be shaking like this normally, but we are. And it looks like we're just about to cross the nav and about to cross the alt at the same time. Isn't that an amazing coincidence? You see here, we're just about on top of it, and we're just about on top of that as well. That is rather amazing timing. So, alt and nav. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the throttle back. Of course, as I pull the throttle back, the exhaust gas temperature does go up a bit, but the fuel flow also goes down. That exhaust gas temperature is going up because we're no longer telling the engine to burn everything really quickly. So it has more time to warm up, I think. That's my understanding of why it happens in this specific situation. Now let's go for a lean. We're at the right altitude, the aircraft is settled, so start leaning this baby. So we'll pull it back until we see on here that it starts shuddering a bit. See it as I pull, see it bouncing a bit, there we go. So on this particular throttle mixture combination, there we go, now it seems to be stable, but we are shedding ground speed pretty quickly. But we should have enough ground speed, I hope, to maintain flight. If not, we'll put the mixture back in. Yeah, we're shedding a little bit too quickly. Okay, so with this, it looks a bit better. Quite a high gas temperature at the moment as well, actually. Okay, so that looks good. So what we've got here, you can see, fuel flow is 6 gallons per hour. Exhaust gas temperature is around this target value, which I don't know what a good target value is. That's what I selected. And airspeed is stable-ish on 87.4. We are increasing slightly. That's okay. Yeah, so this is looking good. So obviously the fuel flow now is so low. We've got a flight time of, let's round that up to 3 hours, that'll be 18 gallons. We of course don't have 18 gallons, but here's the good bit. When we're descending, we're not going to use very much fuel at all. So you can count descent as almost zero fuel. Got a couple of patches here, haven't we? Some slightly shocking ones. That's a very nice river. In fact, I would like, if possible, to make a new quick look, but I need to know how. So let me check that a moment. Okay, messing around over, I've now worked out how to assign a couple of extra quick looks. So I've now made a new one which I think is going to be quite nice for this flight, because essentially we're going to be on a time lapse for a large portion of this. Obviously I don't want it all to be a time lapse, it is quite a long flight as well. I may have to cut some bits out of it, it just depends. What I would like to do though is, if we just fly up, have a quick look at these clouds, how they look. They are looking very nice, aren't they? Like I said, a bit more experience and I'll be able to kind of mess around with things like Max FX and things to try and make stuff look even nicer. For now, we are of course just using some fairly default profiles they've got. Oh, look at that. Look at that. It's awful. So, yeah, I think this is going to be quite a nice one for the time lapse. It'll give us a good view. So, yeah, I will see you. Let's just check quickly. 2 hours 36. Yeah, I will see you in 2.5 hours then. Okay, so time to check in again. Now, unfortunately, something a little bit weird has happened twice during this flight now, which is that I have somehow managed to hit some clear turbulent air, and the plane is just bouncing around like crazy. At the moment we're completely off track. It's not been very good, to be honest, but we are now at 6,000 feet, we're level, fairly stable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it back onto nav mode, and then we're going to try leaning the engine again. So, I found that this was a fairly good compromise before. Around here. Yeah, so we've got a good fuel flow. Speed is still okay. This is looking better. Yeah, unfortunately the weather across Iceland today is just cloud everywhere. We will get the latest METAR. So the closest METAR to us is Few at 1300, broken at 2900, temperature 8, dew point 4.8, wind 020 at 12 knots. I am reporting winds 87 at 10 knots, so we've got a headwind of, we've got a tailwind of 10 knots per second, which is giving us a bit of a shake as well, of course. Altimeter is 1011, 29.86, so we'll reset that. So 29.8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And at the moment, all I want to do really is keep that mixture leaned, but try and ensure we're not losing too much speed. So I want to make sure the speed stays up while the fuel flow stays relatively low. You can see we've got an hour left in flight apparently. So that's good. Now I'm going to do something which I'm not sure how it's going to look until after I edit, unfortunately. But I'm going to do a little bit of a time lapse in a black and white mode. I think that it's going to look fairly nice, but I'm not quite sure. So we will have to see once I've done it. So I think we'll go back. Let's put it back into this view. And if I just go into max FX, turn on the black and white mode. There we go. And yeah, I think we'll just continue on a time lapse. Actually, you know what? I'm changing my mind. Because of the clouds, this is not looking so good. So maybe better off sticking with my custom one. Because there's a lot of cloud here. So yeah, we will do that. Just put reshape back on. Check the speeds finally before we leave. It's a bit dark in the cockpit with all of these settings on. Ground speed 109, time to arrival 52 minutes. Right, now there is a function here, isn't there? If I remember how to do it. VNAV, here we go. So target altitude is going to be 1,500 feet. Yep. I want to be there 6 nautical miles. No, in fact, we'll give ourselves plenty of time to slow down. So we'll go with 7.5 before BIRF. Vertical profile. We'll do it at 500 feet a minute, I think. Okay. So we should start descending in 37 minutes. It's good to know. So yeah, which view did I say? I said this one, didn't I? Okay, let the time lapse begin. Okay, so I'm cutting out the time lapse again because we're actually coming up to a spot of poor weather, which means we're going to have to descend down to 4,000 feet to try and make our way through it. Of course, I am completely aware that these are not the conditions that you should really be flying a VFR in, but we're kind of IFR because we're using the GPS, so I think it counts as IFR, to be honest. But yeah, it's not really great conditions for flying today. However, once we get down to 5,000 feet, we should also be able to see the scenery a bit better, which would be nice. Oh, we've passed 5,000, and I'm an idiot. We're going down to 4.5. Sorry, we're going down to 4, that's right. We were already at 5. I had to descend again because we had a stall issue again. Now, the only thing with descending to 4,000 feet is that we might have some issues with the clearance above some of the mountain ranges, but we can keep an eye on that ourselves. Just make sure that if we see any mountain ranges, we either climb or go around. That'll be the ideal situation. Outside air temperature is 0. Okay. I do have the pitot heat on because I thought it might be useful. My beacon light is off. It's not supposed to be off, I'll be honest. Okay, so we're going through some fairly thick cloud cover here. But we are almost at 4,000. I haven't actually turned off any of the graphics mods. I just cut out of the time lapse completely so that I could keep an eye on this, basically. Just because I wanted to get us around the weather as much as possible. So we're now approaching 4,000, so we'll switch to alt mode. And yeah, what does it say now for VNAV? It says around about 28 minutes. But of course the ground speed is dropping, so it's difficult to tell at the moment. It's not looking too bad outside though. Those are some nice lakes. Some very nice lakes, to be honest. We've got a little bit of lens bloom here. This is probably quite a nice screenshot. There we go. Grab that. Okay, so yeah, we'll continue. 38 minutes. I think what I'll do is I'll skip a little bit because yeah, I don't want this lasting forever. I don't want this entire episode to be a time lapse either. That would be quite disappointing. So yeah, I'll just I'll skip through a bit of the weather and see you when we're a little bit closer to the descent. Right, so as you can see, we've got to a nice area. You know, we have managed to actually lose the clouds partly, which is quite good. It's yeah, nearing the end, shall we say. So just take a screenshot of that. What we're going to do now is just have a quick check. So BIRF. You can see we've actually got a 777. I hope he's not trying to land there. Right, not the NDB, I want the airport. So we've got runway 5, 23, 11 and 29. 5, 23, 11 and 29, okay. So the current angle we're coming in at, on a heading of around about 277. So it would be good if we swing a right and then come back in left, which means aiming for maybe aiming for the runway 11 would be good. Because I don't think, well, we might be able to get in on runway 29 actually, on our current heading. It is possible. How are we doing for vertical speed? We should start descending soon. We're currently only 20 nautical miles out, so okay, yes, in that case we won't bother messing around. I think we'll try for 29. We'll see how it goes. Just turn my phone on silent because it just bleeped. So yeah, 1 minute remaining. We'll just set up vertical speed of 0. And of course, we've managed to do this with very little fuel, which is very impressive, to be honest. I'm pleased with that. Now look at that over there. That is stunning. You'll notice I do take a lot of screen captures. That's mainly because I don't know which one's going to look the best when it comes to screenshots to put up to put up in the thumbnail. Right, so that's that turned off. Should we leave Max FX on? No, okay, so we're back now to default X-plane visuals. And we should now be descending. So set to 500 feet a minute. And full mixture, throttle back. Keep the throttle here, that should be fine, I think. We're not far out. Not far at all. 16 nautical miles. Of course, we've got quite a lot of mountainous terrain here as well. You know what? I'm going to change my mind. Yes, I am. I think I'm going to go with, what was that? What's that runway? Runway 23. So let's change him to heading mode. First we'll put the heading over here. And we'll take GPS off. Just reset the view. So the airport, I believe, is over there. Or at least it's somewhere around here. I can't really see it. Whoa, whoa. But if we stick to this coastline, we should be okay. And yeah, I can turn the pitot heat off now. How's the VNAV doing? Currently okay. So let's do a quick check. METAR at BIRF. Wind 079 at 6 knots. Visibility greater than 10 miles. Clouds broken at 5,500 feet. Temperature 9, dew point 4. Light rain and an altimeter of 1012, which is 29.9 inches. So let's just get this guy to 29.9. Go. I think we'll just turn out a little more. Make sure we can actually get around these rocks. Now on the maps it looks like it's further than it is. I've got a feeling that it's possibly over there. The maps are saying it's over there somewhere. You see, we go around this set of rocks and then there's a bay, so it should be just over there. But like I said, I can't see any runways. Ah, oops, I just found them. I believe those are the runways. They look like they could be. Right, I'm just going to reduce the throttle back a bit more. So if we're coming in for runway 23, we are going to need to fly out over the sea a little bit. I don't know if this would technically be classed as a bay. Basically a very large bay. What we're flying towards at the moment is like a, I don't know how to describe it really. This is kind of like a bit that just sticks out the side. Similar to Italy, I guess, with the leg and the foot. Okay, so we're approaching 2,500. I think we'll stick with 2,500 while we are over the runway, while we are approaching the runway. Because we're going to need to adjust our heading, of course. So, runway 23. Runway 23 must be the other one. Yeah, so this one here. Oh, I did actually allow us to drop further than I was expecting. So we're currently approaching 1,000 feet. That's fine. That'll give us plenty of time to descend and get ourselves lined up. We won't have to worry at all about descending again. Not until we take control of the aircraft. So as we approach 1000, go back into alt mode. Now we're going to need to put a bit of extra power on, I think. But I think we're okay here. Although we're shaking around. Got a tailwind of 5.3 apparently. So if we just go over here. Still not really convinced, but that looks like it must be the runway, which means, yeah, we're going to need to fly on this heading for a fair distance actually, so that we can get ourselves lined up. Yep, so I think, wow, that is beautiful, isn't it? That is the reason why I made ortho, to be honest, because that is just spectacular. Oh, now come on! I told SkyMax not to do that. Look at that. That is. This is when I think, you know, it was actually worth the almost 5 days it took me to generate this ortho. It was worth it. Come on, let's do this properly. We wouldn't be asking the passengers to find us the route. Right, okay, let's turn. Get ourselves roughly lined up so we can establish, and then I will take manual control. Currently 4 miles out apparently, and let's just have a double check. Yeah, that is definitely the airport that we are heading for. Okay, so we're actually pretty much on line. How's the wind? 79 at 6 knots, so we do have a bit of a tailwind on landing. Not advisable, but there we go. So I now have control. Which means I'm going to switch sides. So 3 miles to go. As you've noticed, I've just started slowly descending. I'm also going to pull throttle right back because I want to get these flaps out. So first set of flaps down. Get the ballooning there from the flaps. And we get the second set down as well. We're a little high at the moment, I think. But I can correct that. I want this one to be nice and smooth. Try and get down the touchdown zone if possible. Off the centre line at the moment. And there we go, we're now on full flaps. So we can come in nice and slow. No need to rush this at all. I would like to avoid a go-around though, if possible. Come on. We're pointing our nose straight at the touchdown zone. So hopefully we will be able to get down nice and safely. Still a little high, aren't we? But this is a big runway. We're very high. Still 200 feet above the runway. Okay, let's go around. Let's do this properly. So, flaps back up. And I think, because of the wind, it'd probably be a good idea if we actually came in on the runway we just overshot. So we'll keep climbing for now. So, as we approach 1,000 feet, we'll just level us off. We will swing round. We're not going to make a really long missed approach turn. We'll just swing round by here. We're 1.7 miles at the moment. We'll start the turn, nice and gentle. Just to give us enough time to get back in line with the runway while getting a bit of distance between ourselves and the runway itself. I'll just increase this turn rate a bit. And we're going for a heading of 070. No, we're not. 050 would be the correct heading. So, there we go. There's the runway there. So, let's do this again. So, throttle back. Shed some speed. We are descending slightly, but not too much. Pull this up a little, pull the nose a little. First set of flaps. Go with second. And full flaps. Okay. .500 feet, 1 mile to go. We are looking a bit better this time on height. We're definitely looking better this time. Off the center a little, so we'll just make an adjustment for that. Okay. 100 feet. 50. Throttle back. Just trying to slow while not using the brakes too much. Get the throttle back up to 1000 RPM so we don't damage the engine. Okay, that one wasn't so bad. That was not that bad a landing. So let's just put the brakes on here. Okay. And parking brake on, please. Whew. Now, how do we get out of here? So I think we're going to have to turn around, aren't we? Right. Let's do that. Okay, we'll just taxi back up. I am gonna say that's a hangar, that's the airport, well that's the refueling. So we'll taxi over to there. Get the flaps up as well at the same time, I think. Okay, now our oil temperature is still pretty low. It hasn't increased much during the flight. So let's just make this turn here. Yeah, there we go. We're going to need a bit more power to get across this runway, across this surface, I think. There we go. Okay, and here we are. So, parking brake on, get those landing lights, strobe lights off, turn off the buses and the alternator. We will full lean and off, beacon off, and nav light off. So, we have successfully made it all the way across Iceland in one trip. I am rather pleased, to be honest. We had plenty of fuel left as well, it seems. Can we still see the fuel gauges? We can. Yeah, so we 26, 20, 15. We've got about 11 gallons left in each tank, which is very nice. So yeah, that is us done. But due to the length of this episode, it will be the only one this week. But yeah, please stay tuned. Next time, we're going to be starting the slightly shorter legs. We're going to be tracing around, if I show you on the map, I'm going to be tracing around here, around this coast line. I think BIPA is the next one. But we're going to do it by following the coast around, rather than cutting straight across. So it'll be a nice flight. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and and I will see you soon. Bye bye.